All right, welcome to the show today. My guest today is Jason Fox. Jason completed his MBA on a full-ride soccer scholarship in the US, and after coming back to Australia, injury forced him to give up any career in soccer and he was feeling lost. He decided that his best bet to remain competitive was to start his own business. So he founded JCF Media, which is a digital and social media marketing agency, and quickly scaled it to high six figures, and has now turned his attention to helping as many entrepreneurs as possible do the same. I wanted to bring Jason on the show to understand his entrepreneurship journey, how he grew his agency, and what he wants to accomplish now. So Jason, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Of course. So I would love to start a little bit on your background and your story. So maybe we could start when you were around 17 years old in high school. Maybe you could tell us a bit about what high school was like for you, Jason.
Okay, sounds good. So I was horrible at high school. I was just such a bad student. I really didn't have, I don't know, like I was actually just thinking about it the other day. I didn't even know the names of the classes, let alone the tests and stuff that we were taking. Being an athlete and like playing sports and stuff, when you kind of are good at sports, you really don't try to focus on school. You just try to focus on sports as a whole. Which is what I did, and school just was on the back burner. Mm-hmm. And then I was lucky enough to have an opportunity to, someone came up to me and said, "Hey, do you want to play like at the next level in the US?" And I said, "Yeah, cool, why not?" And they said, "Yeah, but you got to go to university." I was like, "Okay, that's fine." So I got a soccer scholarship to go over to the US. Little town, didn't even know where it was or anything about the town, and I just said yes and went over. And then eventually, like, I started taking some classes that I actually enjoyed, and I started really enjoying school a little bit because we were learning about business, we were learning about entrepreneurship, and I started to really enjoy that. And then I started winning like these awards for like Dean's List and stuff like that, which for me, it was just crazy because I didn't really care about school. And even when I was in university, like I really didn't try that hard, but because it was business and stuff that I enjoyed, I was doing well naturally. And so I started falling in love with business and entrepreneurship, and I realized like this school isn't enough. Like I need to do something more. So one summer I stayed in America and I got an internship over in New York City with the Corcoran Group, one of the bigger real estate firms over there. And no real estate company offers internships. But like I just called people. I was so persistent. I made people like give me an internship. I created the position basically. And so I got an internship, and within 2 weeks of that internship, I actually quit and found another one with an even better company. So I lived in New York, and New York was crazy. I loved living over there. So much culture and so many things to do. And it kind of opened my eyes to the real world and the business world. Like one guy we were working with, he was trying to purchase a $60 million property, and we brought him an offer that like wasn't that great for one of his rentals or something like that. And he said to us, it's like F off, this is crap. Like we don't want this offer. I just spent more than that on my wife's handbag 2 days ago. And I was like, whoa, like that was like a 50 grand offer. Wow. I didn't even know if handbags costed 50 grand. Like it was just ridiculous. So just learning about that, like that was eye-opening. Then eventually I came back to Australia. And
just before we jump back to when you came back to Australia, because I was doing a bit of research on you, and especially your time in New York City, and that sounded like a really interesting period for you. And I was really curious about that because you mentioned like you basically cold called a ton of people, you bashed down doors, you created these positions for yourself because they didn't exist. And I just want to know, were you always that driven? Like, where did that drive come from? Was that just how you
That's a good question.
Sort of came?
Yeah. So for me personally, like being in sports, you have to always be driven. And because soccer in Australia, and it's a little bit different on the Gold Coast and Brisbane to down in Victoria and New South Wales, is that it's not very, like they don't have very good systems and structured. So what I would do is I would play GPS soccer for my school on a Tuesday and Thursday, and then Saturday we'd play a game. And then on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I had training for Gold Coast representative. And then we'd play on Sunday. And then sometimes I would also try out for other clubs. So I would be training 5 days a week, at least once a day, sometimes twice a day, like back to back, or sometimes in the morning and afternoon. And then on Saturday have a game, and then on Sunday have a game, and then Monday start all over again. So I was always like And for me, it wasn't, my parents didn't force me to do that or anything like that. It was, I had this mindset where it was like, I have to do it, so just do it. You know, like a lot of people complain about the situation that they're in, and, you know, how they have to work so hard and things like that. And all I did was I just did it. Like when I had to work in a factory for my dad when I was in high school as well. And I had to wake up at 4 a.m. just to get there on time. Is that I didn't go, okay, I'm going to be tired and stuff like that. I go, okay, I just got to do it. And so any obstacle that I face is, my goal is to go, okay, I've just got to do it. That's the only way to do it. So when I had this obstacle to get to New York, my drive was, this is what I want. Like I always think big level, and then I go, okay, I just got to do it. Like there are my steps. I just got to do it. So I don't know where it really came from. My dad and mom are both entrepreneurs. But I just did it. You just got to do it.
I love that. And I see that a lot, especially in athletes. It's very much transferable, especially to business. It's funny when you're training 2 times a day, playing games on weekends, and then you got to do something like make a few phone calls. It actually can seem easy in comparison to some of the training you've done in the past. So.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and the thing is, when you're in America, there's what they call student athletes. So you're a student first, and then you've got to be an athlete. And essentially, so I wake up in the morning, I take classes from 8 to 5. And then probably in the morning, we have a spin class or a stretching class. So I'm up at 6. And then from 5 to probably about 9 is where we watch film. We go into the trainers, get treatment, we train. So like pretty much from 6 to 9 every single day, I am focused on school and soccer. There's no real time to do homework. I just do it from 9 to 12. And then like all of these other people who don't play sports and stuff, they don't have as good a grades as all these kids that do play sports, because the reason is that we just do it. And I'm very much of the opinion of Parkinson's law. So the time that it takes the time you allow for a task is the time that it'll take for that task to be completed. And it's so true. Whereas when I'm an athlete and fill myself up, my schedule all the time is that, okay, that's due on Thursday, but I've got time now. I need to do it. So that's where that kind of comes from as well. And with athletes, it's just even more prevalent.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, if you want to get something done, give it to a busy person, because they'll know how to slot it into their schedule. And I was curious as well, when you're in New York, what did you want to get out of this experience? Like, why were you so attracted to real estate? Because I read somewhere that, you know, you were begging the cleaners to let you in early in the morning. Your boss had to tell you to leave late at night. You were like putting together snacks instead of spending money on breakfast so you could like meet your living expenses, and like what were you trying to achieve?
So my and that's all true as well. Like, so I got my apartment in New York, and it's funny we're touching on this because I like the story, but I don't bring it up too much. Is that so I had no idea about New York City whatsoever. So I found on Craigslist 2 apartments, and I was with these 2 girls in the apartments, and they were both like they were both lesbian girls, both of them, but individual with their partners. And being like, New York is very free and open and stuff like that. And I'm completely fine with it. It didn't bother me at all. But it was like, I'm thrown into I went to an all boys school. So I'm male energy and dominant. And I'm thrown into this complete feminine environment, which was fantastic for me to learn and to grow and like expand my mind as well. Because I don't often have the opportunity to hang out with people like that. And the culture, they brought friends over, and it was really cool. But just to show how out of depth I was, is that I was like, completely new city, completely different culture, completely like friendship circle was completely different to anything that I've ever experienced. So it was wild for me. And then the only way I knew how to prove myself to my boss was I wasn't great at selling. I wasn't great at anything in particular, but I knew that I could work hard and learn more. So every single morning I would get to the office at 7 a.m. and they didn't give me my key card for months for some reason. So I was friends with I think the cleaner or the person on guard. She knew me by name. Like, she didn't even know the CEO by name, but she knew me because I was in there every morning. I said, hey, I forgot my card. And she said, no, you didn't. You don't have one. So she let me in every single day. She was such a sweetheart. And because I had no money, they offer like yogurt and granola and stuff like that. So what I did, instead of spending money on food, is I went into the office early so no one would see me, because I'd be pulling off bank statements off the printer, which by accident, and they had like $800,000 in them, $2 million in them, in their checking account. in their normal account, not savings, not deposits, like cash. And I was in there with like $20 to my name and couldn't buy breakfast. So I had to hide myself, and that's what I did. I just worked harder. And my goal essentially was to eventually for them to offer me a job. And because it's very hard to get a job in real estate, usually it's commission only, but you can't do a commission only job when you're on a student visa. So my goal was to prove to them that I'm going to work harder than anyone else. And my boss would not show up on Fridays because that's what New York real estate agents do. And I would call her and I'd be like, hey, what have I got to do today? I've got this and done. And she goes, Jason, I'm not even in the office. Like, go home. Or like, I would be there at 6 p.m. texting her, hey, Emily, what do we have to do today? And she'd be like, just go home. So yeah, that was New York.
That's amazing.
Great experience.
What do you think? Here's an interesting question, because I feel like that sort of drive and work ethic can be a double-edged sword, because it's obviously very useful and beneficial. But have you ever found yourself going too hard and burning out? Has that ever happened to you?
Yeah, all the time. I'm very much now very aware of that, like really, really aware of that, almost to a point where I don't work as hard as what I used to because I'm so aware of that. But that way, if I'm only going to work for 12 hours in the day, those 12 hours are going to be very productive rather than my 16 to 18 hour days that are like 6 hours, on calls or making funnels or whatever it is. I've learned to balance that. Saturdays and Sundays I'm very sacred about. I don't try not to work as much. And that can definitely be a double-edged sword. And I think that the problem is that the reason it is a double-edged sword is because so many people put value in people that hustle and grind and stuff like that. Whereas, if someone who is in our industry and says, oh, I only work a couple hours a day, they're looked down upon. Whereas they shouldn't be. If they're making the same as us, but they're only working a couple hours a day, like that's the dream. If they doubled their work, they'd probably double their income. So yeah, I'm very much conscious of that. I need to probably be even better about it, monitoring my time.
Got it. Makes sense. So what happened after your New York experience? What happened next?
Yeah, so I went back to my college and I finished up there, eventually graduating with my MBA. And I really couldn't get any jobs over there because at the time it was the Trump administration took over. And it wasn't the fact that he changed many immigration laws. It was the fact that I spoke to someone and they said, oh, immigration laws changing. There was this fear in the media. And so no one wanted to hire me. Because, in Australia, the E3 visa to get into the US, it's really easy. But, no one wanted to even talk to me. Wow. So I came back home to Australia and I didn't have any money at all. I actually had negative $50 in my CommBank account that, you get started when you're in grade 2. And so my mum gave me $100. She's like, here, Jason, here's $100. So $50 for my bank fees, $50 for myself to spend on food or whatever. And then I started trying to get a job the same way that I did in New York, calling, emailing, texting, adding people on LinkedIn, DMing them on Instagram, Facebook, whatever it was. And in Australia, we're not as like, I don't know if we respect hustle as much. I got told to F off more times in Australia than I did in New York.
I believe
because people, in New York, everyone was like, oh, awesome, great, good for you. We don't have anything. I'm sorry. In Australia, they're like, oh, F off, stop bugging me. I was like, I'm going to make your company better. Like, So, that was very eye-opening because I was, when you grow up, like 18 to 23 is a big period of your life where you make lifelong friends and you grow up like emotionally and mentally, I think. And that's when I was in America. So my upbringing of that becoming a man, essentially, or whatever you want to call it, was in America. So when I came back to here, I was this American side of me that was hustle and respected that. But then I was hit with a brick in Australia where they're like, oh, F you, like stop working so hard. And it's a bit, I don't want to ever talk bad on Australia as a culture, but we do have that sometimes and it's frustrating. Yeah. So, I'm not making excuses, but that could have been why I wasn't getting a job. And then my dad said to me, he goes, Jace, why don't you just start your own business? And I was like, all right, okay, whatever. All right. And then the next day I told my mom exactly what I was doing all that afternoon. And she goes, okay, cool. That's great. You're doing digital marketing, making websites, blah, blah, blah. Next morning, I woke up, mom comes in and goes, hey, Jace, I got yourself your first customer. I was like, what do you mean? I don't even have a business name. I don't even have a business. How do I have a customer? And He goes, go meet with him this afternoon. You've got work to do. I was like, all right, cool. Spent hours prepping for the meeting, and then pitched him. I was like, all right, cool. I can build your website, handle your socials. I'll do it for $30 an hour, which I thought was a lot of money. And he goes, okay, done. Like he was willing to pay hundreds of dollars an hour. And that's how my business got started, essentially from that little conversation.
I love it. How did you know what you wanted to specialize in? So you mentioned like digital, social, all that.
Yeah, because it's always something I've been fascinated with. And when I was doing my MBA, one of the classes that I loved and the teachers that I loved was in entrepreneurship, tech, in internet marketing, and I learned a lot from that. And I just started studying it. Like I even created my own, when I was in college, I created my own like little fitness website as well, did like vlogs and made an Instagram page and all of that. So I already knew how to do it. Like I actually made money off that business without knowing how to make money off a business. And it was really incredible, to be honest. So yeah, that's kind of how things started.
That's cool. And then how did you grow the agency from your $130 an hour client? What happened next in that?
So from there, we kept growing. Like eventually I brought on my brother as a business partner. We kept growing here and there, making a little bit of money. But then we realized we were like, okay, we're spreading ourselves too thin. You know, our Google AdWords customers, we're only making a couple $100 off them because we outsource that. Our Facebook ads customers, we're making the full retainer off them because we're doing it and we're building it. And I spend an hour a day on it. So we're like, all right, let's specialize in that. We got really specialized in that because, you know, specialists can charge more. And then we doubled our prices, completely doubled our prices, what they were. And just like that, things started to take off. Like our business started to grow dramatically because we specialized and things started to click. We were just focusing on the right things that we needed to do. And then it just grew from there. And yeah, then we were hitting, you know, 10K a week. And then we hit like a couple of 10K days. And then, you know, growing monthly was the focus. So it was, yeah, just from that really.
Yeah. I'm curious where you kind of learned all these, like learning to niche down, specialize on certain areas, just deciding to double your prices. Where were you sort of learning all these tactics, I guess, from? Was it just trial and error?
The thing is, yeah, there isn't like one particular course, but we kind of, what I always say is that like you take, and I'm a big fan of this, and it's something that I'm going to be talking about probably a lot more in then probably the next couple of months with my content, is that there's one thing that a lot of people try to do, and it is like pretty much replicate or copy someone else or like do the same thing that they're doing. And that's well and good. You should model successful people. But one thing, and this is a story, a little tangent aside, is that when Walmart were faced with the competition against Amazon, they were just trying to do everything that Amazon was doing. And then this executive put up this banner inside of Walmart and said, you can't out Amazon. So essentially they were trying to be an online tech company that wasn't an online tech company. So you can't out Amazon. And then that completely changed their business because they did things that suited them. They got their last mile logistics down pat. You know, there's not a Walmart store in the country that you go to and there's something out of stock. You're gonna find it. Or there's gonna be a truck on the way outside with that product in there because their last mile delivery is so good. So they made that difference. They didn't out Amazon. They changed their business model to suit them. So what we did, we were like, well, we want to be paid more. We want to do less work. And we only want to focus on two things. So those were the three criteria. We were like, all right, let's try this. And then we kind of, with research, we saw that other people were doing similar things. So we figured out what we wanted to do, then backed it up with research. And then we grew from there.
Yep.
So yeah, it was thinking outside. It was using modeling, you know, the big agencies and stuff like that, but also thinking what works for us. And I'm a big fan of that type of thinking.
Yeah, totally. And it's good as well. You kind of begin with the end in mind. You think, what are these key criteria I want to satisfy? Work backwards. What do I need to do to accomplish those things? I love that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
That's cool. So where are you at now with the agency? So are you planning to just continue growing that, or what's kind of the main focus of it?
Yeah. So I reached a point with the agency, and this is something that actually I'm going to cover in my speech today that we talked about earlier, is that, you know, when if you truly look and ask yourself a question every single day, and this is the question that I try to ask myself every day, is that, like, are you impacting the world? Like, are you truly making a difference? You know, money is fantastic, right? Making more money is great. But what are you making any difference? Are you impacting the world? Like with this podcast, you know, it might not be directly correlated to money for you, but you're actually impacting the world. You know, if someone listens to this and wants to start a digital marketing agency because of what I've said and the questions you've asked, that's impacting the world. And I asked myself that question. I'm like, what am I doing? You know, every piece of content I was putting out there was completely designed to sell. It was not designed to impact. And I realized, you know, we have customers making $200 million, $220 million a year. And what am I adding? I'm adding more to their bottom line. Like I'm getting an executive a new Mercedes, or I'm getting the CEO a new Ferrari. Like, what the hell am I doing with my life? So I really questioned myself, and I asked myself, what is that? So I created a community. I created a Facebook group and started just posting content about my business. No intention to sell anything, nothing at all. People started interacting. It started growing really, really quickly because I was offering so much free help and advice. And every single day I would wake up and I would be like people would go, "You're amazing. You're truly valuable. Everything you do, I'm so happy to know you and meet you." And I was like, well, that one, it fills me up, like as a, you know, selfish kind of thing. It fills me up really dramatically when people say that. But also two is that, you know, someone said to me that they didn't have a job, they didn't have any money. And through one of the systems that I gave them for free, they now have income and can feed their family. Like, wow. That's income, that's impact. That's something that is truly tangible. Yeah. And that's how I transitioned with the agency to coaching and courses and programs to help more people break free of the life that they don't want and to grow themselves. So that's been really, really enjoyable because that's so impactful. And then the agency's there as well. You know, the agency's always going to be there growing on the side because it's enjoyable. I don't mind it, but it's not
your impactful.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. And I love that. And it's funny because when I think the story for a lot of us is when we have no money, we think that that's the goal and that's what's going to change things and make us happy and bring fulfillment. But then we get to that point where we're making money and then we're like, oh, is that it? So we try to find that next step for the impact. So I totally get that.
Yeah. And I'm not, and to be honest with you, I'm not making the money that I want to be making. I always want to be more. I always want to do more and be more. But, you know, when you always just constantly think about that and you're attracted to just the money side of things, not actually making a difference in the world, like I don't think it's sustainable as a business model, but it's also not sustainable for yourself. Yeah. You know, just trying to make money because you want to make money, it's not sustainable at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally believe that. So how do you, specifically with some of this work you're doing now, helping people, can you be specific about some of the areas you do help some of your clients with, or what some of your courses offer, just to give people an idea?
Yeah, definitely. So essentially first the clients is our goal is to get them create a Facebook ad campaign, structure out how that works for their top of funnel, cold, warm, hot audience, remarketing, all of that. Then we build out a sales funnel or a sales system. Doesn't always have to be a funnel. The system's more important. We build that out. We work together on creating all of the assets that they need and work on how we can now sell that and make money off that little structure that we've created. That's what we do for our customers. And that is, we're very good at it. That's what we like to do on a daily basis. And then on the side of like the coaching and the courses and stuff like that is what I wanted to do is create something so people can really go from nothing, not knowing anything about this world, to making $10,000 a month. Because $10,000 a month is life-changing for most people, right? It's a lot of money. So that was our goal with the program. And essentially what we do is we teach people how to start from nothing, where they know no digital marketing or anything, and grow an agency to that point of 10K a month and beyond. We teach them all about scale. And then we also have another program that we're releasing probably tomorrow. So I don't know when this goes up, but it's being released tomorrow, which also teaches people how to, you know, have the right mindset to succeed, how to make sure your business income's stable, all about finances, all about building an actual business that is sustainable, a consulting business. So yeah, and that's a lower ticket monthly thing. So that'll be
Yeah.
cool when we launch that tomorrow.
That's awesome. Can't wait to see that.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about how you help people sort of go from nothing to 10K a month,
Yep.
could you maybe just to give the audience an idea of the kind of thing you help with, like, do you
Yep.
have can you break that down into some steps of how people get to that
Yep.
without going into
Yeah.
a ton of detail?
100%. So our philosophy is broken down into three words, and that's why we have out these words across everything. And it's all about grow, scale, and dominate. So those are three areas where you start, and it's like a curve going up in your business. The first area is you need to grow. So what you need to do is you need to understand the needs of the consumer, and we talk about that. Then we're going to figure out how you can diagnose that problem, and then from there, you need to offer them a treatment plan. So we look at it like a doctor analogy. So you figure out what the problem is, the flu or whatever, diagnose the flu, then you need to treat the flu with what your business is. And we teach you that process. And then we walk you through, because a lot of people struggle with sales. And one time I had never really struggled with sales, because you just need to learn how to talk to people and be confident in what you're saying. Sometimes if it's not right, if it's not 100% right, be confident and people will believe you. I don't recommend lying to anyone, but like if you deliver something in confidence, with confidence, then people are going to know, oh, wow, that guy really knows what he's talking about. So that's a lot of what we deal with, because most of the time that's their problem. Then from there, we teach all about how to master Facebook ads, sales funnels, how to manage clients. And then we talk about scaling. So outsourcing. Like I wouldn't, if this was a year ago, I wouldn't do this interview because I'd have to focus on my ad accounts, but now I don't have to worry about that. So we talk about that, and then kind of managing all the finances. So pretty much from the ground up all the way to growing your business is what we cover.
That's amazing. And yeah, if people want to check that out, we'll definitely link that up so that people can see it. But awesome. And one other thing that you seem to talk about a bit, which I'm curious about, is building and then leveraging a personal brand. Is that something that's always been important to you, or is that a recent thing?
Yeah, it's always been important to me, but it's a more recent thing that I've truly focused on it. And I like to use this analogy, is that when you are applying for like a rental or trying to buy a property or anything like that, you have to buy it yourself. Like all my income and my business doesn't matter. It just matters what I'm buying myself. So when I kind of really thought about that, I was like, well, there's technically two parts of my income. It's the business and the personal side of things. And a lot of people are only leveraging the business and the brand of the business to make their income in the personal side of things. Whereas I think that you need to do both, because if you're doing both, you're going to compound, and also it building a recession-proof business. Because if you're leveraging something through a personal brand, is you can go out there and you're this big personal, like in my talk today, I'm going to cover this, is that what would happen, right, if Facebook just crashed tomorrow? What would happen? For every one of the employees, it's probably not going to be a very good experience. But for Mark just opens up a advertising consulting firm. Or he just opens up a coaching business, how to build tech companies. And he's a billionaire instantly again. Same thing with Elon Musk, Larry Page, Sergey Brin, any of these founders, is that their personal brand is recession proof, and they can pivot however they want because they've built both.
Yeah.
And some people are so like, and this is one thing that I try to talk about as well, is some people just build the personal side, and they think that they're going to like last forever by selling, diet teas and crap like that. Like that's not going to make a difference. Like I also talk about I talked a little bit about my own personal brand is not huge. I don't have 100,000 followers. I don't have all of that, but I know how to monetize that. Recently we made $20,000, and I've just been honest with numbers, $20,000 in 6 days from a single Facebook post. And I only have 2,000 friends. Whereas some people have got like 100K followers and they're still doing these diet tea freaking ads, and they're making like 50 grand a year. Like the personal brand side of things is really important. If you know how to leverage it, you can make money at the drop of a hat. Like if I wanted to today, I'd post something saying, hey, I'm launching this program. Here are the details, click to sign up. Boom, make money. Not my diet tea and that sort of crap.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I like what you say as well. You need to focus on both at the same time, because if you just have the business, then if that goes away, you've got nothing. But if you've just got the personal
Yep.
brand, that's not really going to serve you in the long run as well. So I love the fact that you say that.
Yeah.
And have you got any like advice or tips for people in terms of personal branding? Because how do you actually define it? Because I think a lot of people would look at someone like you know, like you're a confident guy, good looking, you can probably build a personal brand a lot easier than some people.
Yep.
Whereas some people might be like introverted and shy, they don't really want to put their face out there. So I guess how do you actually define like a personal brand, and do you have
Yep.
any advice for people on how to build
This
that?
is, this is definitely something that I've been thinking about a lot lately, is that, the personal brand isn't always defined. I think that a lot of people can sense this sometimes, is, when someone's just constantly posting content that is scheduled, it's on a schedule, it's constantly scheduled. And then when you look, they're commenting, they're getting comments, sometimes from bots, but sometimes from real people, and they're not replying. Is that like, what sort of personal brand is that? Essentially, you're just throwing like garbage out into the world and not interacting with your community. So I define a personal brand as building that relationship on a little micro level, on a one-to-one level, that equals this macro level of growth. So anytime someone comments on my stuff, I try to reply, because I'm not too big not to reply to someone. Like, that's ridiculous. I see influencers with like 10,000 followers and they don't reply to someone asking a question about the product that they're selling.
Wow.
Like, just be a good person that you would be. Like, when you post something, pretend like you're saying it in front of a group of people. And if people have questions, or if people need clarification, comment that. Sometimes no one comments on my stuff, and I go, oh, just to clarify, blah, blah, blah. And then more people comment and people understand. You need to be building a community more so than just your personal brand. So it's external to you, is that community. And now that community works for you. That's why I like our Facebook group, is because they're so connected, and they go out and they spread the word about us and come back into our central hub where we interact together. And it's like a big networking event every single day.
Yeah.
That's what I'd say for personal branding, and just showing up every single day. Is that if you go on Instagram every single day, my face with that pink photo that I have should be at the top of your feed, because I posted 10, 15 stories in the day.
Got it. Yeah, I love that. It's community building. It's not just putting out content. It's that interaction as well, which is a piece that I think a lot of people do miss, as you said, just scheduling the posts and not actually interacting.
Yeah, that's why the most like powerful personal brands, like probably like Logan and Jake Paul is the best example. Is that Logan Paul, like, especially when he was doing his videos and stuff, he never said his followers, his fans, or people who watch him. He always called them low gang, I think it was, or whatever it's called. And that's like something that they can hold on to, is that I'm a part. And it's the same with Russell Brunson and ClickFunnels. Everyone calls themselves funnel hackers. When you can be a part of that community, that makes a difference. So you're so much more connected to the person, rather than just saying, oh yeah, I follow Logan. I'm in the low gang. Like, you are a part of the gang. That really makes a huge difference. And that's what I mean with building a tribe and kind of a community with your following.
Yep. Are you the J gang or what?
No. So we have a Facebook group called Digital Marketing Beasts. So everyone, like, every time someone posts something, they say, hey, beasts, or like whatever it is. And it's more, and it's funny because people post like different content in different Facebook groups, but every time someone posts in our group, they always say, hey, beast, or what's up, beast. And then they copy and paste the same post in other people's groups. Like, it'd be someone else's group, but it's my brand, because it's so, you want to be a beast. You want to be a digital marketing beast. You want to be that type of person. So it's more than just, and it's very smart if you do things that way, more so than just holding, what does Gary Vee has? He has like the 60-second club. So you're part of the 60-second club because you comment on his post real quickly. When you have that really makes a difference. So people want to be a part of it's. Russell, sorry for going on a tangent here, but Russell Brunson actually has it in one of his books. He says that if you have a future-based cause, then people are more likely to relate to it. So in the past few years with presidents in America, is if you have a future-based cause, you are more likely to succeed because people can hold on to it again. So, for example, Trump versus Clinton, make America great again, or I'm with her. Like, I'm with her. What does that mean? No, let's make America great again. It's this future-based cause. I don't want to get into politics. I don't care about any of that. But that making it great again, that's a future-based cause. Like, who wouldn't want that? I'm with her. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
So that's what personal branding is. Like, that's why he won the election right there.
I get it. That's cool, man. Yeah, it's great to get your insights on that, and I totally agree with everything. So that's awesome. And sort of coming up on the end of the interview here, Jason, it's been interesting to hear your journey so far, but just a few quick questions to tie us out. You've got a few books on your bookshelf behind you. I'm a pretty big reader, so I'm curious if you've got a favorite book or just a good one you've read recently, one you can recommend.
Yeah, I love Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. I'm not sure if you've read it. Such a good book. That's probably one of my favorites because it's just his story and how he's very much what we talked about at the start. He was very much like, I've just got to do it. You know, he was in Navy SEAL camp and he had a broken leg and he ran like 10 miles or something stupid. He just had to do it. And if you his circumstances are so much more difficult than all of us. Every single one of us have great opportunities. He had a horrible, horrible upbringing. And he got through all of that by just doing it all the time, just waking up and doing it. Like, he lost 90 pounds in 6 weeks just because he just did it. It didn't matter. Like, he didn't analyze the strategy. He didn't write, okay, Monday I'm going for a swim and at 10 a.m. I do this. He just went into the gym, swam, bike, gym, swam, bike, gym. Whatever he had to do for the day, he went in and did it. That's one of my favorites. And probably the next one is that I'm actually referencing a lot is The Four by Scott Galloway. And it's a really good insight into how Facebook, Amazon, Google, and Apple built their businesses and how they're going to continue to succeed, and the models that we all need to apply to our own business. And one of them is the charismatic leader, is that, if, Google died, Larry would be fine. If, Amazon died, Jeff would be fine. So that's one piece of it. And yeah, that's probably a great read. So those are my two favorites in the last few years.
That's awesome. I haven't read either of them, so they're both on the list now. So thanks for that.
Good.
And what's coming up next for you, Jason? You've got Grow, Scale, Dominate. You've got the agency, obviously. What's the next 6 to 12 months look like for you?
Next 6 to 12 months is building out, we're building out the subscription product that we're trying to grow in the next couple of months here, and then looking to get out there more kind of on stage and speak, as we were talking about earlier. Before the interview, is that, I've got a speech today and I'm looking to do that a lot more, just because if you ask yourself that question, are you truly impacting? Like, I'm posting on social media, but if someone can feel my energy and be in the room, then that's impacting them. So I want to move towards more of that. And I have a lot more stuff in the works, but just to, again, I try to teach something as well here, is that when someone asks me what I have going on in the next couple of months, is that I always want to focus on one or two things. And if I'm focusing on a million things, say if I have my agency, my coaching business, my Shopify store, my MLM, my network marketing, all of that, my circle is so spread. Whereas I want to focus on my agency because that's going well, and my personal brand. That's two things. Nothing else matters. If someone comes to me with an opportunity, I say no before they even ask me to join. Because, if you spread and people say, oh, the average millionaire has 7 streams of income. Yeah, but they made $1 million off one stream of income before they split up. Just focus on one or two things. And that's what I'm going to be doing for the next 12 months again. And the next year, it's going to be another one or two things. So
I love that. Yeah. Yep. Having strong laser-like focus is very powerful. So I totally agree.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
On the speaking, have you got any tips if someone else is looking to start speaking a bit more? How do you actually get these gigs? Is it just a case of go back to the old cold calling and knocking on doors until you get something?
Well, right now, I'm just starting out, so people are kind of reaching out to me. I've turned down probably 5 or 6 that haven't really been a good fit. This one today, is just a small one as well, but it will be enjoyable. So just people reaching out to me. But the thing is that if you want anything, just go freaking knock down doors, just go knock down doors. That's what I'd recommend to get onto the speaking stages. And that's what I will probably be doing next year, is just knocking down those doors. I don't care what method it is, cold calling, cold email, LinkedIn, freaking showing up at their cafe, whatever I can do to get there is what I'll do.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, it's if you knock on enough doors, you'll eventually get a yes. So I totally love that.
Quantity breeds quality as well. People too often go, oh, I need to research and all of that. Like, quantity breeds quality. So yeah, just got to do it more often than not.
I love it. So is there anything I haven't asked you, Jason, or just anything you want to make sure you pass on to the audience before we finish up?
Not particularly. The focus one is one that I really wanted to touch on, because it's so important, is that, so many people are spreading themselves way too thin. You need to just focus on one or two things. And that's how we grew our agency. And when we just cut down Google AdWords, websites, all of that, focused on one or two things and then charged triple for it. And then we made a lot more money. And you can do that with any area of your life. Focus on one or two things, get excellent at it, and charge a lot more money.
I love it. It's good parting advice. Focus and charge more money.
Yep.
So what's the best way for people to connect with you if they want to check out your personal brand or your various products? What's the best way?
Probably on Instagram is the best way to go. Just at Jason C. Fox. It's just a pink profile photo with my head there. And then on there, I have a link in bio with all my other like Facebook groups, my Facebook page, all our other products, testimonials, everything you can learn about me. Probably through Instagram is the best way to connect.
Awesome. And I'll make sure we link that up so that people can easily find it. But Jason, this is a fascinating journey so far, and it's only just beginning. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how things play out in the future with everything you're doing. So thanks a lot for coming on the show and sharing your journey so far.
No problem at all. Thanks for having me, mate. Appreciate it.
Hey everyone, thank you for listening to this interview with Jason. Hope you got a lot of value from it. If you use Apple Podcasts, could you please go into the app and leave this show a rating and a review? That really helps me out in terms of growing the show audience, getting more people listening to these amazing entrepreneurs I'm interviewing, and spreading their message further and wider. And if you don't use Apple Podcasts, could you take a screenshot of whatever app you're using listening to the show, post it to Instagram stories, and make sure you tag me in that. My handle's at jharris, which is JHARRISS. And if you do one of those two things, that would really help me out and it would mean the world. Thanks again for listening and have a great day.